we don't have any feedback, disruptions. Right? The cardinal principle of Tai Chi, no matter what school you go to, whether it be the 24, 37, 60, or 101, the cardinal principle is to relax and sink. In particular, these are your hip joints. So if you do a slight squat, okay, and imagine your arms are very, very heavy, head is nice and tall. Now, another image that's very useful is to visualize your breath coming out of your nose as you breathe in and you exhale. You can see the breath coming out. What that does is it encourages you to have a straight posture. Okay? Now we're going to warm up with some Qigong exercises, which are predecessors to Tai Chi. So we're going to imagine there's a string on each wrist, lifting your arms out to the side. And when your arms are shoulder height, fold at the elbow, palms facing down, and then press downward. And then you turn your palms up. We're going to breathe in as you lift. We're going to turn our palms downward and exhale as you sink. One more time, breathe in. And breathe out. Then we're going to pretend our shoulders are hands of a clock. So we're going to sink into a slight crouch. We're going to take our shoulders up to the ceiling. Looking up at the ceiling, bring it across the ceiling, so we're looking at the wall. Bring it down to the floor, bring it across the floor. And as we rise up at the ceiling, you're going to swivel our heads back to the front of the room. You're going to take a moment, take a deep breath. Exhale and relax. And then the other shoulder, sink down to start, crouch. Lift the shoulder up to the ceiling, across the ceiling, looking at the wall. Crouching down, looking at the floor. Rising up. Swirling your head across the ceiling. And then looking forward. And take a moment to recover, deep breath. Then we're going to take our arms out again. This move is called the universal pull. We're going to put our palms over our thighs in front. Then hinging at the hip, keeping your back straight, we're going to slide our palms down in front of our legs, keeping the back straight as possible, coming down as low as you can. And we're going to slide our palms upward. And when we reach the vertical, we're going to take our shoulders toward our earlobes in a shrug. And we're going to release. Okay? Universal pull. Breathing deeply. Folding at the hips. Back straight. And breathe. Exhale and way up. And then shoulders toward the earlobe. And relax. Then we're going to go into embracing the Tao, crossing our arms in front, palms facing inward. Then we're going to draw a bow, an arrow, to one side. As we do, we're going to look over the shoulder, opening the chest, warming up the shoulder girdle. Then as we slowly lower our arms and rise up into embracing the Tao, and draw the bow in the other direction as we sink into a crouch, looking over the shoulder, opening the chest. And then rise up. And take a moment, take a deep breath. make a fist, both hands, knuckles facing downward. Fist next to our hips. I'm going to sink into a crouch. And make sure that your body is nice and straight and tall. I'm going to punch. And as we do, I'm going to rotate our fists so the knuckles turn upward. We're going to open our fists, releasing. Our fingers are going to point toward the ceiling. And I'm going to rotate the fingers outward. Fingers are going to point downward. And then one finger at a time, pinky, fourth, third, index, thumb, and bringing back toward the hip. Same thing with the other. Warming up the phalanges. Fingers pointing upward, rotating outward, pointing downward, and then grasping and retreat. Okay, now I'm going to punch to the side. I'm going to look over at the fist and punch. And we're going to rotate. This is a grasping motion. Drawing it back in, turning it back in the front. Then we're going to punch the other side. And we're going to grasp. And turn. All the while you're sitting into this martial crouch. Then we're going to punch with both fists toward the front. And then grasp both hands. And then draw back. Now we're going to bring our feet in. We're going to raise our heels up off the ground. And we're going to release, dropping it down so that we have a little bounce. A little micro shock. And when we lift up, drop into a bounce, what I want you to do is fold at the hip and bend the knee slightly into a slight crouch. So we're lifting up. Down into a crouch and rise up. Take a breath. Exhale. Once more. Lift. Drop into the crouch and rise up. Deep breath. And one more time. We lift. Drop into a crouch. Rise up. Okay, now, first move in all Tai Chi forms is the lift hands. I want you to pretend there's a string on each wrist, lifting up arms up in front. When they're a shoulder height, bend at the elbows, bring your wrists toward your shoulders, then roll your wrists over a line, lowering your hands down to the starting point. Sideways view, lifting up, relaxed. Bring it in, bring it down. So in Chinese metaphysics, you're raising the energy from the earth, bringing the energy toward your body, and then circulating the energy downward your body. And you synchronize your breathing. You can breathe in, and then breathe out. And take a moment. I want you to examine your body. Where is the tension? Okay, do a head to toe assessment. So starting with your scalp, your tension, just let it go. Check your jaw. Are you gnashing your teeth? Shoulders, nice and loose. Hips. So once you identify where all the points of tension are, you go through and raise the energy and circulate it. So we do 4 cycles of this. Breathing. lifting hands. Two more cycles. Breathe. Exhale. One more cycle. And you rise up. So this lift hands movement is performed with the feet in line. The next movement, we're going to assume what is known as the bow stance, where one foot, in this case my left foot, is taken out in front. The right foot is angled out toward the diagonal. Hips, pelvic floor is level. In other words, there's no tilting forward or back, level. Weight is approximately 70% forward. Okay? So we're going to have our palms facing forward. And I want you to imagine there's a string tied to each elbow. At the end of the string, there's a 50-pound weight. It's dragging the elbow down. Okay? So if you, there may be some beginners who have the elbows outward. That means you're engaging these muscles, which uses tension. The whole idea is to release the tension. So we're going to slowly shift the weight to the rear leg, letting the arms fall down either side, over the elbow, and come back. So that's one full cycle. So here's the beginning of the cycle. As you flow backwards, halfway through the cycle, and last half of the cycle. And you can synchronize the breathing. So you can breathe in as you come back. And breathe out as you come forward. And every time you breathe out, think to yourself, relax. Relax and sink. Visualize your room that you're in as being filled with honey, viscous honey. And so you're moving through honey very gracefully, very slowly. And every time you breathe in, and as you breathe out, relax and sink. And two more. Relax. Deep breath. And one more. And we pause. We lower arms. Now, what we're going to do is the mirror image of that using a right bow stance. In other words, the other leg is now forward. Okay, this leg is again diagonal, pelvic floor level. Same move. Let the movement drive the breathing pattern. So breathe in, breathe out. Moving through honey. Breathing in, breathing out. Now don't force it, just let it go naturally. Don't worry too much about being perfect. You are now energizing all of these important lower body muscles that are necessary for better balance. Identify where the tension is in your body. Let it go. Breathe. Then we can lower arms, bring the feet in. Okay, that's the first move, and it's the. If you can notice, there's a slight hint of martial arts applications for it. But Tai Chi, particularly the way we practice it, it's mostly being aware of what's happening in your body. So self-awareness, self-control, that's more important. There's the very fact that you can use this to draw the enemy in and then unbalance the enemy and push him away. It's really secondary, tertiary. Okay. So now, we've done the linear forward and back transfer. The energy comes in, and then you use the energy to push out. Now we're going to do cycling. In other words, we're going to fold into one hip, again, keeping the pelvic floor level. Important thing is not to turn femur, thigh. So as we fold the weight into this hip, and you do not want to twist the thigh. Then we're going to transfer the weight into the other hip, and turning the pelvis, but not turning the thigh, the femur. Okay? So that's an important concept. Now we go from forward, back into left and right. So again, left boat stance. Check yourself. Pelvic floor level. Get nice and tall. Visualize your breath coming out of your nose. Try and relax your shoulders. The left leg corresponding to the left arm in front of your solar plexus. The right palm directly behind it. Sideways view, as if you were holding on to a grapefruit. Then we're going to turn slightly to the left. Now, as we sink into the right hip, okay, we're going to turn the pelvis, but keeping the femur at the same angle. Arm's going to feel very heavy. We're going to fold the rear elbow, and then we're going to come back. Okay. So the arms are going to feel extremely heavy. And you're going to use angular momentum of your core of your body to motivate the arms. Very, very slow, very gentle. And then if you can, we're going to synchronize the breathing. So we're going to breathe in as we come back. It's halfway through the cycle. You're going to breathe out as you come back. Again, breathe in. And as you breathe out, relax. Be careful not to twist the thigh and turn your hip. Shift as much weight as you can into the rear leg. Two more cycles. One more cycle. We're going to lower arms. Bring the foot in. Okay, we're going to take the right foot stance. Okay. Right foot forward, right palm facing inward, left palm facing outward. We're going to turn slightly. Remember, sinking into the left hip. Left thigh does not twist. Pelvis twists as you shift the weight. Again, we can breathe in. Arms are very heavy. And relax. So this is a withdrawal. And you repel. Moving through honey. Arms are very, very heavy. Two more cycles. And one more cycle. Bring up lower arms. Bring your feet in. Okay. Check yourself. Head tall. Visualize the breath coming out of your nose as you breathe. Next move is called the brush knee. Okay, now we start again with the left bow stance. Again, the lower part of the body has the same movements where you sink into right hip, keeping the femur where it is without twisting. You turn the hip. Okay. Except this time, the arms are going to be executing what is called a brush knee movement. So as we turn to the right palm will come down, the left palm will come up. Lightly brushes across the right thigh. Halfway through the cycle, in the last step of the cycle, left palm brushes across the thigh. So you withdraw and deflect. And then you advance and repel. So the energy comes in, and energy goes out. All the while, your movements are driving or informing the breath. And two more. No rush, take your time, just flow. And one more. So you bring the energy toward your body. Circulate. And then pause, lower the arms, assume a right foot stance. On the way up. Again, remember, pelvic floor level. As you shift the weight from right to left, fold and hip, pelvic floor level, shift weight forward, shifting it the other hip. Okay. So this time, mirror image, left hand up. So the right arm draws energy in. And as you shift the weight back to the front, right brushes across the thigh. So the left palm brushes across the left thigh. As you come back to the front, right palm brushes across the left thigh. So we're going to breathe, let the movement drive the breath. So you breathe in, and you're going to breathe out. Again, breathe in, and relax and sink. And two more. And one more. And then we lower our arms. Okay, and the last movement that I'm going to demonstrate is called the cloud hands, wave hands, or whatever the school calls it. It essentially is composed of sinking into the right hip, okay, like turning the pelvis without twisting the thigh, and then slowly shifting it into the other leg, sinking into the other hip. all the while keeping your head tall, okay? Looking straight ahead, observing your breath coming out of your nose. Now, since we are moving in that direction, the leading arm rises, and the trailing arm is directly below it in front of your bodies. So as we shift in the other hip, change positions. So you're holding this little small cloud in front of your bodies. So the breathing cycle can be either breathing in, and then breathing out. Or you can breathe in, and then breathe out. At the extreme, you breathe in, and then you breathe out. So it's up to you whatever is most comfortable. So here we are, cloud hands. Now there may be some schools of Tai Chi where it's more energetic. In other words, like that. You say they're putting a lot more energy into the cloud hand movements. But in this particular exercise, I would just concentrate on the breath, focus on how you're shifting the weight from one leg to the other. And you're really exercising these muscles, which are very, very necessary for balance. Ideally, as you're over on one side, there should be no weight on this leg. As you go to the other side, sinking down, no weight on that leg. You'd say it's working the muscles that are necessary for balance. And one more. And back to the center.